Ascension messages. Communication with the Federation. The previous night, I awoke into a lucid dream state scenario. The setting was unusual, in that it was similar to viewing a TV set that appeared not to be tuned in correctly, with a slightly hazy or frosty overtone. Images were phasing in and out of focus. I was somewhere in my etheric, and what initially awoke me into this scenario was this phasing in and out of light that was bouncing in my awareness with my eyes closed. Upon opening my physical eyes, the experience was exactly the same. Therefore I decided to close my physical eyes to continue with the experience, and found myself inside what seemed to be an unfamiliar flight deck of a starship. The inhabitants were aware of my presence, and were directly communicating with me on a telepathic level. As they communicated, their silhouettes phased in and out in luminosity. At times some of these ETs were face to face with me in close proximity when communicating. As I looked around I could see the flight deck. It appeared like an exaggerated Art Deco format, and everything appeared monochromatic in shades of light to dark grey. Viewing from a 3D mind, I was not really sure exactly what was unfolding, however felt very comfortable, warm, and very peaceful during the entire interaction, and with this thought in my mind, my consciousness slipped away. The following day, Dana and I drove to Auckland and back, a round trip of 600 kilometers, and most of the conversation concerned Swaru's apparent messages, that said humanity was not ready for direct physical contact, on either an individual or group level. That our psyche is unpredictable due to the unwillingness of the masses to deal with their unconscious trauma, both on an individual and group conscious level. This human condition of compartmentalizing a 3D conscious reality, while traumatized at a deeper level, has left humanity with unpredictable psychotic behavior, that as a race makes us very dangerous. Swaru has said that their contact program, particularly hers, had been successful and that the information gathered from contacting thousands of humans, mainly in Latin American countries and Russia, had revealed to her the aforementioned conclusions. Dana and I had discussed these topics in great depth for most of the day, including the regressive entities that were behind the scenes mind controlling the masses, and trapping humanity into its present state of apathy, accepting a deterministic reality rather than spiritually growing and taking back their own sovereignty. This is a very brief overview of our conversation. However, I was energizing a slightly different perspective, one of having incarnated for a lifetime in these present times, having experiencing first-hand life on 3D Earth living within the Matrix. Swaru's opinion of our human situation rendered her to say, there was little positivity with human development at these times. We however had concluded otherwise, that humanity, wherever we looked, despite the controlling forces, still strived to love and care for their loved ones, putting their children through school, even though financially constrained, taking them to school and social events. That there was much evidence of this love and caring that was extended to others. Indeed, you just had to look at all the firefighters, emergency services, and the myriad organizations that worked for nothing but for the love of humanity. These people, even though they may be asleep, had a deep desire to care selflessly for others, despite the ever-increasing control in their lives and in their minds, inflicted by the reptilians and other aggressives' agenda for humanity not to wake up. We thought it would be a good idea to contact the Federation directly. Upon falling asleep, with all of the above conversation washing in our minds, we drifted into a lucid semi-dream state. I called upon my higher self to assist me meeting directly with the Federation, knowing that it was important to share my testimony directly to the Federation, before they came to any conclusions based on the observations presented by the many participants in the events unfolding here, especially on Earth. Feeling a very strong energetic presence, I began to present my testimony, based upon not only the conversation that Dana and I had that filled most of the day, but also the many conversations and conclusions of at least the last 35 years of experience here on Earth. I was aware that this dialogue of my testimony was being delivered in my mind from my 3D languaging, and that it was being presented to them in a linear time format. To ensure clarity in my communication with them, not to mention speed, I was feeling safe and comfortable with this contact, and decided, as I had no hidden agenda or vulnerability that could not be disclosed from my mind, therefore, I suggested that they, the Federation, if they thought it appropriate, could carry out an objective and open-mind probe. This would help clarify my testimony, and the reason why I felt my presentation was important to make. I respectfully challenged some of the presentations that we felt had already been presented, and any conclusions that had been reached, as well as supporting many others. The intensity of the mind probe was surprising. My head and mind pulsated with increasing levels of discomfort as they communicated with me at this telepathic level, and I could feel other strong presences in my mind. During this communication, my heart remained open and loving. As the intensity increased in my head, the discomfort also grew. So I requested that the Federation should just ease back a tad with their mind probe, to a level that my mind could tolerate, while allowing the communication to continue, maintaining the exchange to its natural conclusion. They, the Federation, immediately adjusted the intensity by lowering the intensity and lovingly continued with the exchange. At some stage close to the completion of our exchange, they shared telepathically 2 words with me. These words I repeated over and over again, not to forget them. Later during that night, I awoke Dana to remind me of these 2 words and of the exchange that had just occurred. Tewana, Tawa. During the whole exchange I felt a strong intense pulsing in my right brain. After the exchange, this pulsing continued to be felt in the right hemisphere of my brain. Something had shifted in my awareness. We humans have 2 brains, 2 minds that are in conflict with each other. The left brain, ego, thinks it is in charge. However, who we really are, is working through our brain in the right hemisphere via the heart. This is why we have a potential for psychotic behavior. This is the true disconnect from the real self. Both Dana and I, when attempting to connect with higher realms, realities and densities, require an initial period of quietening the chitter-chatter of the mind to still the ego. Dana tells herself to focus when connecting for a communication to still the chitter-chatter. I am aware of the same thing and instruct my ego to quieten and withdraw during the process. Because of the 2 minds in conflict, it becomes very apparent that to be human is to have 2 brains and 2 minds. The next morning Dana and I discussed the experience, and the 2 words that were given to us in particular. Dana recognized that the words were of Maori origin, and later that morning looked up the translation. Te wana in Maori means, the shoots. Tawa in Maori means, laughter. As we were having our morning coffee, we read out aloud the Maori meaning of those 2 words into English. Immediately, both Dana and I felt the emotions entwined within the vibration, and could feel the loving message that was charged energetically by the Federation, as their parting gift. We sighed and felt the energy of love once again, as the vibration of the sound of these words was felt, along with the tears that were falling down our faces. We both cried. The Federation gave us 2 words that hold a myriad of meanings and feelings, that hold the vibrations of not just the surface meaning in linear 3D of the shoots and laughter, but of something much more. The shoots represent not just a sprouting of roots or leaves, but of life sprouting, spreading, sharing, growing outwards in new and renewed growth. Extended meanings include channel, share, slide with ease, trough, pathway, funnel, journey, conduit, act as a ramp upwards, runway, paving the way. Laughter is a visual expression of multiple positive emotional states, representing happiness, harmony, joy, rejoicing, fun, playfulness and love, all coming from the heart. These words all have multiple meanings. The message in the written word, the shoots, laughter, simply does not fully represent the fully charged meaning that is imprinted in our body's matrix as we write the 3D version in linear words. It means much, much more. We are to live our lives adventuring with joy, laughter and love. To continue journeying this life through love. We are the conduit of love. We feel eternal gratitude for the shared experience and of this parting gift. It has been imprinted into our psyche, our soul. Something has definitely changed in our energy fields. Thank you. Te wana, Tawa, adventure with joy, with all its multiple meanings.